Vulnerability is often misunderstood. In a world that constantly celebrates strength, perfection, and control, the very idea of letting someone see your flaws, insecurities, or unpolished edges feels risky. Yet, it is in this very risk that the deepest bonds are formed. When a woman shows her authentic self without masks, without carefully rehearsed words, and without the shield of perfection, she offers a man something he rarely experiences in his life, truth without pretense. And that truth has a power that goes far beyond appearances or charm. It creates a connection that feels real, and real is what makes love unforgettable. When a woman dares to show her true emotions, whether it's her excitement, her fears, or her imperfections, she communicates trust. Vulnerability is essentially the language of trust. It says, I'm letting you see the parts of me that not everyone gets to see. This act in itself is magnetic. For a man, it tells him that he is not just another face in her world, but someone worthy of her unfiltered self. The walls come down, and what remains is intimacy that cannot be faked. Men do not fall in love with perfection. They fall in love with the courage it takes to be imperfect. Authenticity is not about being flawless, it's about being consistent and true. A woman who pretends, who tries to project a life that isn't real, might attract temporary attention, but it never lasts. The mask eventually cracks and the illusion fades. But the woman who shows up as she is, who admits when she's scared, who shares when she feels uncertain, becomes unforgettable. Her strength is not in hiding her vulnerability, but in embracing it. And this paradox is what men deeply admire because it resonates with something within them. Men are often taught to suppress their own vulnerability, so when they see it expressed openly, it feels like freedom. The power of vulnerability is also in the way it invites reciprocity. When a woman shows her true self, she gives permission for him to do the same. Suddenly, the conversation shifts from surface-level exchanges to meaningful dialogue. Dreams, fears, regrets, and hopes begin to flow. He feels safe enough to say things he has never shared before, and that safety is not given by beauty or intelligence. It is born from vulnerability. Love grows not in the moments of perfection, but in the moments where two people admit they are human, fragile, and still worthy of acceptance. Perfection creates distance, but vulnerability builds closeness. Think about it. When someone seems perfect, they are admired from afar. They might be respected, even envied, but they are not approachable. Perfection intimidates, but when someone allows their flaws to be seen, when they admit they don't have it all figured out, they become relatable. And relatability is what draws people in. A man does not want to love a flawless image, he wants to love a real person. A woman's willingness to be herself, even when that self is messy or uncertain, is what makes her irreplaceable in his heart. Vulnerability also creates resilience in a relationship. When a woman reveals her struggles instead of hiding them, when she asks for help instead of pretending she has it all under control, she strengthens the bond. She shows him that love is not about pretending everything is perfect, but about facing life together as it is. This shared reality becomes a foundation for loyalty. He falls in love not only with who she is, but with the honesty she brings into the relationship. It's that honesty that transforms attraction into attachment, and attachment into lasting love. True intimacy can never exist without vulnerability. It is the bridge between two souls that want to be seen and accepted. When a woman is authentic, when she shows the rawness behind her smile, she creates a bond deeper than any polished version of herself ever could. It is not the carefully crafted mask that makes a man fall madly in love. It is the courage to take that mask off and simply be. Respectful admiration is one of the most underestimated forces in building a deep emotional bond between a man and a woman. In a society that often glorifies grand achievement, shiny titles, or material success, the smaller, quieter efforts of men often go unseen. Yet these efforts, whether it's the determination to keep going through challenges, the little sacrifices he makes for the people he cares about, or the discipline to show up day after day, are the very things that define his character. When a woman notices these things, when she looks beyond the surface and acknowledges his effort rather than waiting for results, something powerful happens. He feels valued not for what he has accomplished, but for who he is becoming. That kind of recognition sinks deeper than any compliment about appearance, status, or wealth. It touches a man at the level of his soul. What makes admiration respectful is its sincerity. A man can feel when words are spoken just to flatter him, and he can sense when appreciation comes from a genuine place. Sincere admiration doesn't exaggerate or invent qualities. It reflects what is truly there. For example, when a woman acknowledges how hard he works, even when he hasn't yet achieved the outcome he desires, she is telling him that his worth is not dependent on external validation. She sees his persistence, his effort, his late nights, and his inner drive. This is rare because the world often praises results, not journeys. A woman who can admire the process instead of only the outcome creates a kind of intimacy that others cannot. Respectful admiration also speaks to a man's deepest need to feel respected for what he contributes and for the intentions behind his actions. Men often measure themselves not by words, but by what they provide, protect, and create. When those things go unnoticed, they may begin to feel invisible. But when a woman recognizes the thought behind his gestures, even the smallest ones, she validates his role in her life. For example, noticing the way he listens when she speaks, or appreciating the little things he does to make her day easier, communicates that his presence matters. In return, this drives him to give more, to do more, and to love more deeply, not because she demands it, but because she inspires it. There is a difference between admiration that feeds the ego and admiration that nurtures the heart. Empty praise may feel good for a moment, but it doesn't last. Respectful admiration, however, has a lasting effect because it is rooted in truth. It is not about telling a man he is perfect or flawless. It is about recognizing his effort and his humanity. When a woman can say, "I see how hard you are trying," or "if I appreciate the way you handled that," she is not just boosting his confidence. She is creating trust. That trust tells him he can be himself with her even when he stumbles, and she will still see his worth. What makes admiration powerful is that it creates an upward cycle. A man who feels appreciated wants to live up to that appreciation. He doesn't want to let her down, not out of fear, but out of love. He strives to be more, not because she demands it, but because she believes in him. That belief fuels his ambition, his drive, and his commitment. It is no longer just about achieving for himself. It becomes about honoring the faith she has placed in him. Respectful admiration also deepens emotional connection. When a woman expresses genuine appreciation, it reassures him that he doesn't have to constantly prove his worth through success or competition. He realizes that he can rest in her presence, that he is valued not only for what he achieves, but for who he is in the process. This security creates space for intimacy because love is no longer conditional on performance. Instead, it is rooted in recognition, respect, and gratitude. Men fall in love with women who make them feel seen, and respectful admiration is the clearest way of saying, "I see you." Not just the polished version, not just the victories, but the man who tries, who gives, who continues to show up no matter how difficult the journey becomes. It is in that recognition that admiration transforms into love, because every man longs for the rare gift of being valued beyond what the world can measure. Unshakable support is one of the most powerful forces in love because it transforms temporary attraction into a bond that lasts through trials, failures, and victories. Every man, no matter how confident he appears on the outside, faces moments of doubt. Moments when the world questions his ability, his choices, or his dreams. In those moments, what he needs most is not more critics, not more pressure, but someone who believes in him even when the odds are stacked against him. When a woman chooses to stand beside him during those storms, she gives him something priceless. A sense of loyalty that is rare and unforgettable. This kind of support is not about blind agreement, but about faith in his potential, faith that he can rise again even when he falls. And that faith, when shown consistently, becomes the foundation of devotion. Unshakable support is not about words alone. It is about presence. It is about being there in the quiet moments when he feels like giving up, reminding him that he is not alone. When she listens without judgment, encourages without pressure, and stands firm without wavering, he begins to see her not just as a partner, but as an anchor. The world may celebrate him when he wins, but she is the one who believes in him when he loses. That contrast is what deepens love. It is easy to stand beside someone when they are admired, but it is extraordinary to stay when they are doubted. For a man, knowing that a woman is by his side no matter what creates a sense of emotional safety. He feels that he doesn't have to hide his struggles or pretend to be invincible. He can reveal his fears, his uncertainties, even his failures, and still feel valued. This acceptance allows him to be his full self, not just the version of himself that the world expects him to be. That kind of freedom is rare, and once experienced, it becomes something he never wants to lose. Turns the idea of love from something conditional into something unbreakable. Unshakable support also fuels ambition. When a man knows that there is someone who will not abandon him, when he stumbles, he takes bigger risks, pursues bigger dreams, and dares to do more. Her belief in him becomes fuel for his drive. He doesn't just want to succeed for himself anymore, he wants to succeed because she believed he could. That desire to honor her faith creates a deeper level of commitment, not just to his goals but to her. Attraction may ignite passion, but it is this devotion that sustains it. Support, however, is not about doing everything for him or rescuing him from challenges. It is about standing with him, not in front of him or behind him. It is about respecting his journey, encouraging his growth, and reminding him of his strength when he forgets it. It is about offering encouragement in ways that empower rather than control. True support strengthens his independence while assuring him he is not alone. The moments when support matters most are often the quiet ones. The moments no one else sees. The long nights of doubt, the disappointments that shake his confidence, the silent struggles he carries inside. When she chooses to be present in those moments, to reassure him that her faith is steady even when circumstances are not, it binds him to her with an emotional loyalty that cannot be manufactured. He may admire beauty, he may enjoy charm, but what he truly cherishes is the woman who stays when everything else feels uncertain. Unshakable support does not just change how a man feels about himself, it changes how he feels about her. He realizes that she is not with him only for the good times, but for the journey as a whole. He sees her not just as someone who loves him, but as someone who believes in him in ways that even he sometimes struggles to believe. That belief becomes his source of strength, and that strength becomes the foundation of devotion. This is why when a woman stands beside him even when the world doubts him, attraction evolves into something far deeper. It evolves into a love that endures. Unshakable support is the quiet force that transforms the way a man experiences love, respect, and loyalty. Attraction might spark interest, chemistry might ignite passion, but it is support that cements devotion. Every man, regardless of how strong or successful he appears on the outside, carries within him doubts, insecurities, and fears. He faces criticism from the world, skepticism from those who don't understand his vision, and pressure from the responsibilities he carries. In those vulnerable spaces, what he craves most is not perfection or admiration from the crowd. It is the steady assurance that the woman he loves will stand beside him no matter how uncertain the road becomes. That knowledge gives him a sense of safety so rare that once he feels it, he cannot imagine life without it. The power of unshakable support lies in its consistency. It is not about grand speeches or dramatic declarations. It is about showing up day after day, especially when circumstances are not in his favor. When a woman continues to believe in him while others doubt him, she becomes more than a partner. She becomes his anchor. That kind of loyalty is not forgotten, because it is in the hardest moments of life that a man discovers who truly values him. Attraction can make him notice her, but standing firm beside him when the world questions him makes him devote himself to her in return. Support also means seeing beyond failures. A man may fall short of his goals, he may lose a battle, or he may make mistakes that shake his confidence. When that happens, the reactions of those closest to him can either break him or build him. A woman who continues to stand by him, not by excusing failure, but by reminding him of his strength, his potential, and his worth, becomes a source of renewal. She doesn't need to solve his problems or fight his battles. Her presence and faith in him alone can reignite his determination. He realizes that her loyalty is not conditional on his victories, but rooted in who he is as a person, and that realization creates a depth of love no fleeting attraction can match. Unshakable support is not blind. It does not mean agreeing with everything he says or overlooking his flaws. Instead, it is grounded in honesty and belief. It means challenging him when he needs to grow, but doing so from a place of encouragement, not judgment. It means believing in his potential even when he struggles to believe in it himself. This balance of truth and loyalty creates an environment where he feels both safe and inspired. He knows she is not with him because of convenience or circumstance, but because she truly values the man he is and the man he is becoming. The emotional impact of such support cannot be overstated. For men, the world often demands performance. Success in career, strength in character, confidence in every decision. Yet no man can always meet these expectations without faltering. When he has a woman who sees past the image he projects and supports the man underneath, he feels a freedom that few ever experience. He no longer needs to carry the weight of pretending. He can be vulnerable without fear of rejection. And in that vulnerability, real intimacy is born. Over time, unshakable support changes the direction of the relationship itself. It deepens trust, strengthens connection, and creates loyalty that is nearly impossible to break. A man may be drawn to beauty, charm, or intelligence, but he devotes himself to the woman who stayed when staying was not easy. She becomes not just his partner, but his safe haven, the one person he knows will walk beside him whether the path is smooth or filled with obstacles. In that devotion, love stops being temporary and becomes unmovable, just like the support that built it. Playful connection is one of the most overlooked yet powerful ways a woman can create a lasting impression in a man's heart. While attraction may begin with physical chemistry and admiration may grow from respect, it is the joy of being with someone that often makes a bond unforgettable. Humor, lightness, and the ability to savor small moments together become the glue that holds relationships through both ordinary days and difficult times. A man may be drawn to beauty, but what makes him stay, what makes him think of her long after she is gone, is the way she made him feel. And nothing makes him feel more alive, more at ease, than laughter shared in authenticity. Playful connection is not about cracking jokes all the time or turning life into constant entertainment. It is about creating an atmosphere where seriousness does not dominate every interaction, where the weight of responsibilities does not overshadow the joy of simply being alive. In a world that often burdens men with expectations of strength, control, and pressure to perform, a woman who brings lightness into his life feels like a breath of fresh air. She reminds him that life is not only about struggles and goals, but also about laughter, spontaneity, and presence in the little things. That reminder makes her presence addictive because she offers something rare, a space where he feels free to relax, to let go, and to enjoy. Humor has a unique way of breaking down walls. Many men carry unspoken stress, insecurities, or fears they don't always know how to express. But laughter has the power to dissolve tension, to transform a heavy moment into something manageable. When a woman can tease him in love, laugh with him at life's absurdities, or share a private joke that only they understand, she creates intimacy without needing words. That kind of bond cannot be manufactured. It grows naturally when two people are willing to be playful with each other. And once it is established, it becomes a memory he returns to again and again because it is tied not only to her, but to the joy she represents. Playfulness also signals confidence. A woman who can laugh at herself, who does not take everything too seriously, shows that she is comfortable in her own skin. That comfort draws him in because it makes her approachable and real. Life with her does not feel like a performance or a constant evaluation. It feels natural, easy, and enjoyable. In turn, he feels safe to let his guard down as well. He doesn't have to pretend or hold on to the image of perfection. He can be goofy, silly, or even clumsy, and instead of judgment, he finds companionship. That acceptance strengthens his connection to her because she offers him what few others can, a chance to be fully himself without fear. What makes playful connection unforgettable is that it turns ordinary experiences into extraordinary memories. A simple walk in the park becomes a story filled with laughter. Cooking dinner together turns into a playful dance of mistakes and shared jokes. Even difficult days are softened when humor lightens the atmosphere. She doesn't need grand gestures to make an impact. Her presence transforms the simple moments into something meaningful. And because those small, joyful moments accumulate over time, they become the foundation of how he remembers her. Playfulness also fuels desire. When life feels joyful with someone, attraction grows naturally. It is not forced, nor does it fade quickly, because it is tied to emotion rather than circumstance. He doesn't just crave her touch, he craves her energy, her laughter, her way of making him forget the heaviness of the world for a while. That craving keeps him coming back, not just for companionship, but for the unique experience of happiness she creates. Ultimately, playful connection creates an emotional imprint that lingers far beyond the moment. A man may forget the details of what was said, but he will never forget the way she made him feel. Alive, lighthearted, and free. Humor, lightness, and the ability to enjoy small moments do more than entertain. They weave a bond that lives in memory, a bond that makes her not just loved, but unforgettable. Emotional safety is one of the most powerful yet underrated aspects of intimacy, and it is often the very thing that turns a relationship from something ordinary into something extraordinary. For many men, the world is a stage where they must perform strength, confidence, and control at all times. They are taught from a young age to hide their fears, suppress their insecurities, and guard their emotions behind a wall of toughness. Yet, beneath that exterior, every man carries doubts, unspoken struggles, and dreams he hesitates to voice. When he finally meets a woman with whom he feels he can reveal these hidden parts without fear of being judged, dismissed, or ridiculed, he experiences a kind of intimacy that is incredibly rare. That intimacy is not built on physical closeness alone, but on the freedom to be fully seen and accepted. When a man feels emotionally safe, it does not mean he abandons his strength. It means he no longer has to wear armor in front of her. He can share his deepest fears without worrying that she will see him as weak. He can express his boldest dreams without fearing that she will laugh at them. Emotional safety is not about solving his problems or agreeing with everything he says. It is about creating a space where his voice matters, where his heart is heard, and where his truth can exist without conditions. This is what makes emotional safety so powerful. It tells him he can be vulnerable and still be respected, even cherished for who he is. The difference between attraction and deep connection often lies in this safety. A man may be drawn to beauty, charm, or intellect, but those things alone do not sustain intimacy. What keeps him devoted is the assurance that he can return to her with his authentic self. The world may celebrate his achievements, but with her, he can share his doubts. The world may admire his strength, but with her, he can admit when he feels broken. This balance creates a love that is unshakable because it is built on authenticity rather than performance. Emotional safety also invites growth. When a man knows he can reveal his insecurities without being shamed, he gains the courage to confront them. When he shares his dreams and feels encouraged instead of ridiculed, he dares to pursue them with greater determination. Her support becomes the soil in which his ambitions grow, not because she directs his path, but because she believes in him enough to give him space to imagine freely. This belief is not passive, it actively shapes how he sees himself. He begins to think, if she believes in me even when I doubt myself, then maybe I am capable of more than I realized. That shift in perspective fuels devotion, because her acceptance becomes the foundation of his confidence. Another layer of emotional safety is the absence of judgment. Too often, men withhold their struggles because they fear being misunderstood. When she listens with compassion rather than criticism, he feels accepted instead of exposed. Her ability to sit with his truth, even when it is messy or uncertain, strengthens trust. That trust allows him to let go of the need to be perfect, and instead, he chooses to be real. The moment a man feels he no longer needs to hide who he is, he begins to give himself fully. That fullness of presence is the essence of intimacy. Over time, emotional safety weaves a bond that is deeper than passion alone. It creates loyalty because he associates her with the freedom of being himself. He may laugh and connect with many, but the one who provides emotional safety is the one he returns to, the one he entrusts with the parts of himself no one else gets to see. She becomes not just a partner, but a sanctuary. And once a man has experienced that kind of sanctuary, he cannot easily walk away, because it is more than love. Belief in his potential is one of the most powerful ways a woman can impact a man's heart, mind, and soul. Every man carries within him a vision of who he wants to become, even if he rarely speaks it aloud. Some of those visions are bold and ambitious, others are quiet and personal, but they all represent the deep longing to grow beyond where he is today. Yet, along that journey, he often battles doubt, fear, and the weight of past failures. When a woman looks at him and sees not just who he is now, but who he could be at his very best, she awakens a fire inside him that nothing else can ignite. That belief, especially when shown consistently, becomes the difference between ordinary attraction and a love that feels limitless. What makes this belief so impactful is its rarity. The world tends to judge men based on what they have already accomplished. How much money they make, how successful their careers are, how strong they appear, or what they have to show as proof of their worth. Very few people take the time to look deeper, to notice not only what he has achieved, but also what he is capable of achieving. When a woman believes in his potential, she separates herself from the crowd because she invests in a future that doesn't yet exist. She tells him without words that he is more than his current circumstances, and that she sees greatness even if others cannot. Belief in his potential is not about blind optimism. It is not about pretending he is perfect or ignoring his flaws. Instead, it is about seeing both his strengths and his weaknesses, and still choosing to believe that his strengths will carry him forward. It is about encouraging his growth, challenging him when he needs it, and reminding him of the bigger picture when he gets lost in doubt. This kind of faith does not excuse his mistakes, but inspires him to rise above them. And because it is rooted in both love and respect, it motivates him in a way that no external praise or recognition ever could. When a man feels that a woman truly believes in him, it changes the way he believes in himself. Her faith becomes a mirror that reflects back to him the parts of his potential he may not fully trust yet. He begins to take bigger risks, pursue greater goals, and push past the limits he once thought defined him. He doesn't want to disappoint her, not because of pressure, because he values the confidence she has placed in him. Her belief becomes a source of strength, one that carries him through challenges when his own self-belief falters. That shared energy of trust and faith creates devotion, because he knows she is not with him for who he is alone, but also for who he is destined to become. Belief in his potential also builds intimacy in a unique way. It creates a sense of partnership where he feels that she is not just walking beside him in the present, but also walking with him toward the future. She is not only loving the man he is now, but also nurturing the man he is becoming. That dual love, rooted in today and invested in tomorrow, creates a depth of connection that few experiences can match. It reassures him that her love is not conditional on his success or status, but on the journey they are building together. The beauty of believing in his potential is that it makes him feel limitless. It takes away the loneliness of striving alone and replaces it with the strength of having someone in his corner. That strength turns into gratitude, that gratitude into loyalty, and that loyalty into a love that runs deep. Because nothing makes a man fall harder than realizing that the woman he loves does not just accept his present, but already envisions a greater future, and stands by him as he reaches for it.